All right, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at creating a procedure. These are sometimes called functions or methods as well. And we're going to look at the pseudocode for this, and then we're going to look at it in terms of Snap and Python. So first, let me preface this by saying that this particular video is based on defining procedures that are void, which means they don't return anything. If you're unsure about what a return is, take a look at the video number 29, and that talks about what a return is. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to basically label this procedure as a procedure, and then this right here can be anything. This is the name that we're going to call the procedure. In this case, they refer to this procedure as proc name. And then there'll be some parentheses, and there may or may not be a number of values inside the parentheses. If there are values inside the parentheses, the values inside the parentheses represent variables that the procedure has that are going to be passed into the procedure to be used within the procedure when you write the block of statements, or when you write the code, which is the body of the procedure. And so here's the text for that, and here's how it gets called. It's also important to note that the way that you call a procedure is you will call the procedure by using the name of the procedure and then an open and closed parentheses containing however many arguments you had as parameters. So we'll take a look at what that looks like when I talk about the two examples in Snap and Python. So let's hop on over to Snap. Now, Snap procedures are basically blocks. And so I wanted to go through creating a block from scratch as I illustrate this. So if you scroll down to the bottom of your variables tab, there's a make a block. This is going to be a command block, and I'm just going to give it a color of looks, so it'll be purple because this one's gonna have some output to it, and I'm just going to call this this particular block greeting. All right, and then I'm going to hit OK, and then it takes me to this area where I can actually write the code of this block. And I think this block is just going to be simple. I'm going to go in here, and all this block is going to do is just say hello for 2 seconds. But you can put as much code as you want to in here. So this would be the equivalent of procedure greeting with no parentheses, and then we're going to say hello for 2 seconds. I'm going to hit OK. And so now the way that I would get that block to work is, if you know, I scroll down here, this block that I made now exists in the looks menu. And if I click this block, you'll notice that when I click it, it says hello for 2 seconds. So that's writing the procedure. And then after the procedure is written, you want to call the procedure. If you need to know what your procedure looks like, then in Snap you would go through and edit. And so this is the equivalent of procedure greeting, open close parentheses, and then the block of executed code is just saying hello. So this would be display hello if I was using pseudocode. So that's the Snap version of a greeting without a parameter. Let's go ahead and edit this. I'm going to add a input. So if I add an input, we just want it to be a text input. And so I'll go ahead and add that, hit OK. And I'm just going to add that text by going ahead and clicking on the plus button to the right here, and then whatever name I want to call that parameter. So you have to provide them variable names if you're going to have parameters. So now we have a procedure called greeting that accepts one parameter, and that parameter will be known as name. And so now instead of just saying hello, I can say hello to a specific person. I'm going to go down here and grab the join command, and I'm going to join hello with name. And in fact, let's do capital hello, and let's put a comma after it and then a space. And so it's going to join the string hello, comma, space with whatever name that I put in there. Let's go ahead and make this big enough so that we can see it here. Let me resize this. So it's going to say hello, comma, whatever the argument was that's sent into this function for 2 seconds. So once again, pseudocode, in pseudocode, this would be procedure, greeting, and then in parentheses it would have the word name. And then here's the executable code. And then now when you call this greeting, notice that there's a box out to the side. And I can put in a name for that. And so when I execute this, now it says hello, Jeff, instead of just saying hello. So I needed some more information to run the procedure, so I supplied that information by using parameters. And so now we get the hello, Jeff. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this is going to look like in Python. So in Python, I've got this greeting, print hello, and then I've got a greet person procedure, and this one has a parameter, and notice that I've used this variable inside the body of the code. So that's what's going to happen when you call this particular procedure. You have to tell it the name that you want to use when you call it. If you don't provide a name, you get an error. So in Python, writing procedures or functions use the reserved word def, and then you name it. And then there's a colon, and then the indentation is the body. So if you wanted to translate this to pseudocode, the def would be the procedure, the greeting would be the proc name or whatever, and then if you have a parameter, anything inside the parentheses, and you can have as many as you want. This one just has one, but I could separate a bunch of different variables by commas, and then just so long as I use those variables, then I would be fine. So let's go ahead and run these 2 cells here. So I'm going to run this cell, and I'm going to run this cell, and that sets up both of the procedures now exist. If I call the greeting procedure, it just prints out hello. But if I call the greet person, passing in a name as a parameter, it says hello, Jeff. And if I change this name, then when I run it, it'll change the output and say hello, Carol. So that's the coding equivalent to what the procedure pseudocode looks like. Just as kind of a refresher, you will see procedure, and then you will see some sort of unique name, and then you might or might not see parameters. And if you do see parameters, then whatever these variables are, they'll probably show up inside the block of statements as well. And that's the way that the pseudocode is going to define functions or methods in pseudocode. And these are all void methods. They don't return anything. They just do something. So usually they'll have some sort of output or something in here as well as part of this. I hope you found this information useful.